let's get into the main plate story of the day, which is very important. Okay, there is a there is three vaccines that are available in the United States of America today. I need you guys to pay attention to this. This is very important for you guys to what I'm about to tell you guys. It took me a minute for me to make it click in my head, and hopefully the way I explain it clicks in your head. First of all, and I've said it, let me give you the position of the Valentine show, which is me here. Is Valentine an anti-vaxxer? No, he's not. Mr. Valentine is not an anti-vaxxer. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I do understand of the uh, positive things that vaccines have provided the world, but do I believe vaccines should be forced on people? No. Emphatic no. A categorical no, no, no. If I'm of the belief that if vaccines work, let other people have them, or let other people take them, whoever wants to take them. You cannot force it on a population. And we're going to try to get into these passports, vaccine passports that have been approved in the state of New York. And the Biden administration is thinking about doing something with these passports, which is horrible in my opinion. Okay, but the big problem here, out of the three vaccines, every single one of them, and pay attention to me, please, what I'm about to tell you, because there's some details that you guys need to know. Every single one of those vaccines has something to do with abortion, directly or indirectly. Let me explain. There's three vaccines available in the United States of America today. There is the Pfizer BioNTech one. There's the Moderna one, and there's the recently approved Johnson & Johnson one, which a lot of people like it because it's just one dose, plain and simple. All these vaccines, all of them, use something called cell lines in different forms of what these cell lines. What are these cell lines? Here's where the abortion comes into play for all of them, right? But it might not be as important for some. It might be important for others. Okay, first of all, what are fetal cell lines? The first thing is, let's get right off the back. None of these lines, none of these vaccines, none, listen to me very clearly, none of them have actual abortion fetal tissue, meaning tissue that's from an abortion that happened a couple of hours ago, and it's in one of these vaccines. None of them have that. None of them have them. What some of them, what actually just one of them has is something called the use of these fetal cell lines. What are these fetal cell lines, Valentine? It's very simple. Abortions that happen in Europe, if I'm not mistaken, I think they were in the 1970s and 80s. These abortions, some cells were harvested from these fetuses, and they were grown in a lab. The cells, so meaning what they're using now in different shapes and form, and I'm gonna get into the different ways that two of them are using them, and one of them is using them. The cells that they're using, again, this is not direct fetal tissue. The cells that they're using are like, that way you understand, are like brothers and sisters or cousins, or different generation of the original fetal tissue that was used, of the original cells that were in the fetal tissue that was used. So now you have the cousins of these cells. Why are we even using these cells, you might ask? Oh, very important. These viruses, they grow better in human cells. So they are harvested for the pharmaceutical industry to grow these viruses, right? The SARS-CoV-2 too, because they're better to grow these viruses, just plain and simple. Now, what is the difference? Okay. Let's get into the difference. There's going to be two different cell lines that we're going to be talking about here. And what is the difference? Okay, this is a health. Hopefully you guys If you guys want to understand more, you're going to have to do a little reading. But this article in particular, go check it out. Look at the address right here. This is Healthline. And right off the back, the article says no fetal tissues wasn't used to create the J&J, Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine. So let's read a little bit here. What are fetal lines and why are they not fetal tissue? The main difference, remember what I said, fetal tissue has to do with the taking it from the actual fetal tissue, in this case abortions, and these fetal cell lines are generations later, right? And again, I'm telling you guys this information that way you yourself, you make a moral decision of what you're gonna do. I'm gonna tell you what my mother said regarding the Johnson & Johnson, which is the problematic one for some people, and why did she decided that she was gonna take the Johnson & Johnson one, and why is how she rationalized it in her head. Okay, so what are fetal lines and why are they not fetal tissue? According to Dr. Aline Banerjee, a member of the American College of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology, COVID-19 vaccine task force, fetal lines are not the same as fetal tissue. Fetal lines are cells that are in fact grown in a laboratory setting, again, as opposed to being harvested or taken direct from a skin or whatever the organ of this human being was, right? Banerjee explained that these cell lines were taken from elective abortions. Elective abortions are abortions not like a miscarriage. Elective abortions is abortion that were just, I just want to have an abortion. Basically, the type of abortion that we are against, right? He says this, that they were taken from elective abortions in the 1970s and 1980s. These individuals from the 1970s and 1980s have since been grown in the lab for 30 to 40 years, creating fetal lines. Again, so right off the back, these cells were grown in a lab that were taken from these, in this case, some of them were an elective abortion, but some of them there's not clear. And we're going to be talking about the ones that are not clear and are clear. Because they were grown in a lab, some people rationalize it as these are not abortion derived cell lines. So to them, okay, it's no problem to them. Now let's talk about the two particular lines. I know it might be getting a little complicated, but this is it's not that complicated, to be honest. Okay, there's two fetal lines, right? And as you can expect, they're going to have some scientific names. So the first one is called the HEK293. And as I said here, it's a kidney cell line that was isolated from a fetus in 1973. So listen to this. Look what it says. So HEK293 is one of them. But look what it says here. Neither the Pfizer nor the Moderna vaccines use fetal cell lines during the development and production phases. So there are not fetal cells in the vaccine. Listen to this. Neither the Pfizer nor the Moderna use any type of fetal cell lines in the vaccine. The Johnson & Johnson, there is fetal cell lines inside the vaccines. What the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines use fetal cell lines for is to, once the vaccines were done, they will test them on these fetal cell lines that were derived from abortions. Again, so they weren't used in the development of them. Once the vaccines were done, they tested them on fetal cell lines derived from abortions. In particular, the HEK293 cell lines, which was from an elective abortion, as you can see here. Actually, no. Which was not from any, the status is not known whether it was from an elective abortion. So the HEK293, which is the Pfizer and Moderna cell lines that were used, it's not known whether it was an elective abortion. So we don't know. It might have been just a miscarriage and they took something negative and they made something positive out of it, which is actually the direct line of thinking that my mother has, as we're going to get. And let me talk about the other cell line, which is the PRC6 cell line, which is used in the Johnson & Johnson. Look, so the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, however, has made more extensive use of fetal cell lines. It required use of a line called the PRC6 in both its development and manufacture. PRC6 is a retinal line that was isolated from fetus in 1985. So this one, and look what is the difference. It uses a fetal cell line in its manufacture because it uses a modified adenovirus as the carrier of the SARS-CoV-2 spike protein. So look what it says here. So the Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna vaccines do not use a viral carrier. So the Johnson & Johnson one uses something called a viral carrier, which is one of these cell-derived from an abortion. So the Johnson & Johnson one is the only one that there are actual cell lines from an abortion in the vaccine. Again, some people don't, the science community seems like doesn't consider these fetal tissue, right? Because again, these cell lines were grown in a lab that were taking from that horrible incident, which is an abortion, no matter how you look at it, whether it's an elective abortion or a miscarriage, and they did these cell lines. Now, what did my mother said? What did I tell my mother? My mother, first of all, she's looking to get the vaccine. She's looking, and I told her, I explained to her my worries with the vaccine, why I'm not me personally taking it now. I'm just waiting for more time to pass. That way, more people use it, and if it works out, then we'll use it, right? My mother, who's a Christian woman, she has been a Christian woman most of her life or all her life. I told her, hey, mommy, you know that the one that you're thinking about, particularly the Johnson & Johnson one, because even the Catholic Church, the Catholic Church said that if you take a vaccine, make sure it's the Pfizer or the Moderna one. But if you have to take the Johnson & Johnson one, it's like they say something to the effect, which is like, it's like your human duty to take the vaccine, right? Okay, so I tell my mother, and she was like, okay, I understand, but something which was negative, they took it around and they made something positive with it, which is the vaccine. Again, my mother's a fully Christian woman. She's anti-abortion, she's all that, but she's seeing that to her, in her mind, and again, it's up to you and your mind, to her, it's not the same as using fetal tissue. Or it's not equating, she's not equating it to the horrible act of an abortion, which is again a horrible act, but they made something positive out of this abortion. So again, the Pfizer and Moderna one, just to summarize, the Pfizer and Moderna one don't use fetal cell lines in the production of the vaccine at all whatsoever. They use it in testing afterward the vaccine was done. The Johnson & Johnson one does use it inside the actual vaccine itself as something called a viral carrier, to carry what the name implies is that it's carrying obviously the virus into the body via one of these cell lines that were grown in a lab. So it's up to you to decide and make the choice, the informed decision of, if you are going to take the vaccine, which one will be better for you in your opinion. The Johnson & Johnson one is just one dose. The other two, if I'm not mistaken, are 2 doses. So that's where we're at with right now with that. I hope that makes sense to you guys and you guys understand, and that makes it a little bit more understanding of what you guys are gonna do. If you guys have a problem or a question, hit me up in the chat or something like that, or call me up later and let me know what the dilly is, as they say in the hood, right?